Jellyfish is Tracy, the Jellyfish Queen, and today I'm going to be doing another modern deck tech for you guys. And basically, if you're new to my channel or you haven't been keeping up with my deck techs, I do want to talk a little bit about them. I talk about them in like every video because I know some people pick and choose, they don't watch every video. I completely understand. Deck techs is that they are a mock deck tech. I built this deck for the purpose of filming a video about this, so I'm not going to purchase this deck, I'm not going to play it. So if sometimes people have suggestions and I'm like, that's great, but like, I'm not gonna play this deck. Like, if you take this and take this as a skeleton, or you're looking at other, you know, builds of this is a Jeskai control deck, but like, you know, whatever for modern, but like, you know, it's only like one type of version of this deck. You know, I'm not saying that this version is perfect by any means. Number two, I'm not a net decker. I'm someone who does really crazy fun things. I also think it's really cool to do these types of videos because I feel like I get to do more things. I think if I was actually building a deck, I think I would be a little bit more conservative, but I really like to be very liberal with my decks. Just because it's a creative outlet for me, building these decks, and for, you know, the purpose of filming these videos, and I just think it's fun to try something out. I'm totally not a net decker, I'm someone who likes to have a ton of fun with my deck builds, so if you're gonna be all like Mr. Grouch on here being like, this is not a traditional deck, you're right, I'm telling you it's not a traditional deck because that's not what I do, and to me that's boring. I don't like to do things like that. So we're filming, right? Okay, sweet. Okay, cool. So this deck, it's gonna be listed down below like I do with all of my deck techs. I'm really excited about this because I've been doing a lot of like toolbox kind of decks, like good value creatures, things like that, but I'm really excited for this because this is like a straight up control deck. Like, this has counter spells, a lot of them, and it's very, very much like I don't want my opponent to do that. No, we need to stop my opponent. I feel like I've been doing a lot of mid-range more decks where this of course is a mid-range deck, but it's a lot about stopping your opponent. It's a lot about controlling the board, which I really like, and I'm a huge fan of decks like this. When I was playing Modern, I was really like, this to me would be like, I would play this deck. Like, I've built some decks where I've been like, this is cool, but I wouldn't personally play this. I would play a deck like this. Like, this is really sweet. Funny, I'm actually re-looking, I built this deck actually a couple weeks ago, so I don't quite remember everything that's in here, so it's gonna be a little adventure for you and I. Okay guys, I'm not gonna get too much into the mana base just because, you know what, mana bases are totally dependent on what, you know, you're doing and different colors. Like, you may run a certain amount of fetch-lands or a certain amount of shotguns in various colors based on what colors are more predominant in your deck or less predominant in your deck, so I'm not really going to talk about that much. I will say one thing though, I'm only running 3 Celestial Colonnades, and I know if you typically look at most blue-white control lists or any sort of like Jeskai list, a lot of them do run 4. I only run 3 in this build, which for your personal preference, if you like 4, go for it. I just think that because you're throwing in the addition of red in here, which the red is pretty minimal, I would say, but again, you can make, you know, you can add more red, you can do whatever you want. But I decided to just run 3. I think there's a lot of other endgame cards in here, I think, because it does have some burn strategies as well. It's kind of like a burn control deck a little bit, but also keep in mind that that burn is still, the burn aspect is control because you can get rid of creatures with it, so don't automatically assume, oh, it's a burn deck, all that damage is meant to be dealt to their face. No. A lot of times you're going to be dealing with their creatures depending on, you know, what's going on with the board. So yeah, I'm only running that. I'm also running a Ghost Quarter as well. I did want to take note of that. I remember when I played Blue-White Control, which I did this deck tech a while back, like a couple months ago, but no, it was longer than a couple months ago. It was a really long time ago. And, you know, I did a lot of Ghost Quarters and a lot of land destruction, which you can totally add on. I only do the one. I think I like that one addition. My curve is not, how far is my curve? My curve is actually pretty much stops at a 4. I have like some stuff at 6 mana, which we'll talk about, but it's got a pretty low curve, so I'm doing 26, which I actually feel like that's a lot. I could probably bump that down to 25. However, with the addition of Celestial Colonnades, keep in mind that you need to have 6 mana on the board because you need to pay 5 mana and then the Celestial Colonnade, so just keep that in mind. But also keep in mind that Celestial Colonnade doesn't tap, so you can always Path to Exile your Celestial Colonnade if you need to, which is one of my favorite things to do if you're in a desperate situation. I love doing that, it's so fun. Okay, yeah guys, so let's get into like the basics of the deck, and if we have time, I always say this, I'll talk about the sideboard. I actually do have a lot of like 4 ofs and 3 ofs in this deck, so it's not like as many 1 ofs as sometimes I do have. 19 instants. I have 1 Electrolyze. I really like this card. I just really like this card. I had it in Grixis and I unfortunately had to cut it because there was just stuff that was just a little bit better. But I think because you're running blue and white, and yes, you do have, how do I phrase this? In Grixis, it didn't, in my opinion, in my build, it didn't really work because there were better cards, but in this, I think Electrolyze is just good. Like, I think it's just fine. I think you do have access to a lot of good cards, but sometimes counterspells are a little janky. Like, I've done a whole video talking about counterspells in Modern, how they get a little bit weird. So, I don't know. I think the addition of 1 Electrolyze is really good. I'm a huge fan. I love the fact that you get to draw a card off of it. I think card draw is especially very important in control strategies when you really need stuff to refill your hand, especially in the later stages of the game, and especially in a build like this when, like I said, my curve really tops off at 4. I only have like 2 things. I have 2 Planeswalkers, Elspeth's Sun's Champion, we'll talk about her in a bit, that's at 6 mana. And Celestial Colonnade, which is, again, you want like 6 mana, that's like your ideal, but, you know, that's like later stages of the game, really. Anyways, okay, for Lightning Bolts, I'm not really going to talk about this card, kind of an essential. I just think really important in like a Jeskai burn, a Jeskai control build. I just think, again, it's a really good card because it can be used to throw at a creature to kill it, or it can be used at your opponent. Having something like that is very important. On the same token, I have 3 Lightning Helixes. I really like Lightning Helix. I'm a huge fan of this card. I think you could, depending on your meta, I think you could totally adjust this number. I find that 3 to me is such a good number. Like, you have your 4, like Bolt, like you have your 4, like that's just kind of a given, but like, I don't know, something about like 3 of a card, I don't know, I just really like that. I think it's kind of like just the right number, I feel. I don't know why. It's like not quite 4, but it's not quite 2, it's like in the middle, and it's just good. I like it. I don't know. So yeah, Lightning Helix, again, I think it depends on your meta. If you're having a very aggressive meta thing where you really need to gain life, throw in more Lightning Helixes, throw some more on your sideboard, whatever, but I can cruise it, or cut some if you don't, if life doesn't matter as much, if everyone's playing infinite strategy decks, whatever, you know. Okay, then, you know, it's really funny because I was thinking about this deck earlier. And I was like, oh, I'm going to talk about the card Cryptic Command, and it's really funny that Cryptic Command's not in this deck, and I realized why I didn't, because I don't personally like Cryptic Command. I don't personally like that card, which I'm going to talk about in overrated Modern cards, spoiler. But, you know, I don't like it in, if you're running 2 colors, it's fine. Like, I'm actually running it in an upcoming deck tech, which I will do, which I think is fine, but in 3 colors, I'm very wary of that triple blue, even though blue is, actually, blue is not the most predominant color in this build. I think I have 21 blue symbols and 22 white symbols. It's like come on, like 1 symbol is like not gonna kill you, you know what I mean? But yeah, anyways, I'm running Ojutai's Command in its place, and I feel like this card is very underrated. And when we talk about the creatures, we'll kind of talk a little bit more about the synergy that kind of goes on with the creatures. I really like this card. I really love the first ability, which coincides with the creatures that we're going to be talking about. Gaining 4 life, again, for really aggressive strategies. Counter trigger creature spell, really good in creature matters, or just draw a card. Like, draw cards is always like, going to be good. You know what I mean? That's an ability. Like, I think some people with those specific cards are like, oh, this isn't good in this matchup, whatever. It's also a 1-of. I'm not, like, beating you in the head with Ojutai commands. I just really like this card. Again, if you're someone who's obsessed with Cryptic Command, I mean, listen, throw Cryptic Command here. Like I said, I have my reasons for not liking it, and I personally don't like the fact it's triple blue in a tricolor deck. I am just not a huge fan of things like that. To me, there has to be, like, a great exception to that rule to really like swing me over to have like 3 mana symbols in a tricolor deck. That's just my personal opinion though. Some people disagree. Hey, whatever, it's your deck, you can do what you want. This is my deck, this is what I do. Okay? Okay. 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 Alright, then we have 4 Path to Exiles. Again, I'm not really going to talk about Path. Super important card. Like I said, one of my favorite things to do personally is to just path my own creatures. I do it all the time, especially when you're running Celestial Colony. Guys, I can't tell you how many times where you're at like the 5 mana mark and you really need to cast Elspeth's Sun's Champion, and you really need to cast you really need to like activate your Celestial Colony, but you're short 1 mana. Bam, you just path one of your dudes. Like, really, just I do it all the time, because some people are like, oh, you know, in certain instances they'll take out paths if they're playing like a less aggressive strategy, which you're right, you do want to like take out paths, but guys, I mean, seriously, like, it's just pathing your own stuff. It just throws your opponent off and it's great. Okay, now let's be honest here. Would it actually be a blue deck if I didn't talk about Quicken? No, probably not. I love this card. I feel like this is on the chopping block for so many people. They say there's better things. I wholeheartedly disagree. In my opinion, Quickening plus Supreme Verdict is one of the best things to do, or Quicken plus Wrath of God. One of the most devastating things you can do, especially in a strategy like Affinity. This deck should have zero problems against Affinity. You should probably kill them straight up like every single time because you're playing so much removal that you kind of just laugh in their face. But let me tell you something. I've been in times where I've played against Affinity before when I was playing blue-white, and I would quicken Supreme Verdict and it would wreck the Affinity player's day. Or just like what was it, the Coco deck that's going around, the Infinite deck with Malira Pod, that deck. How are you gonna stop that deck? You know what I mean? You could path one of their creatures and they could just find, no, you quicken Supreme Verdict, you know what I mean? Just really good things. Yeah, okay, that. You know, it's funny, I thought there was going to be so many more counter spells in here, but again, I forgot because I built this a couple weeks ago. 3 remands. I mean, really, in my opinion, I think you could just play around with the counter spells. I think you could do a little bit of everything. I think you could do, like, some mana leaks or whatever it is, what other counter spells you really like. Now, I don't really particularly like remand. I think that's just kind of an important card. Bouncing it back to their hand, I do prefer remand when you're playing black because you have that hand disruption. You remand something, you have them discard with Liliana of the Veil, or Collective Brutality, or Inquisition, or Thoughtseize. You know, I think things like that are really good. I don't love it as much in a strategy like this, but sometimes you just need to bounce something back to their hand and then kill them next turn, or sometimes you just need to get it off the table until you draw some other removal spell. You know what I mean? You also get to draw a card out of it, which again, drawing cards, you know, is good. Because what if you like have 5 lands and then you need that 6 for Elspeth Sun Champion to destroy their creature that you bounce back with remand, and then you draw that land with your, you know, just saying, things like that could happen. Okay, and then 2 Sphinx's Revelations. I love this card. This to me, I mean, this is another card that like, I'm looking now why I did 26 landed to actually totally make sense, which I think some people would disagree and go 25, but I think you want more because you really want to be able to activate your Celestial Colonnades, and you really want to be able to cast your Elspeth Sun Champion. So Sphinx, and you really want to be able to Sphinx's Rev for like a lot. You know what I mean? Like when you use Sphinx's Rev for like you have 6 mana on the board, you Sphinx's Rev for 3, it's pretty good, you know what I mean? No one's disagreeing with you, it's a good thing to do. But let me tell you, like Sphinx's Revving for like 4, 5, 6, your opponent knows they're dead at that point probably because you're drawing answers, and that's a really devastating part of the game. So you really need to control the board, make sure everything's, you know, smooth over there so that you can Sphinx's Rev for a lot. And again, your opponent a lot of times says, you've probably drawn a ton of your answers. There's nothing I'm really left to do. So card is fantastic. Absolutely love this card. I really need to build an EDH deck that has these colors because I just really want to play Sphinx's Revelation. Like, I just really love this card. Alright guys, the sorceries, there's only 7. I'm really not going to spend that much time talking about them because they're pretty basic. For Serum Visions, I mean, if you're playing Modern Blue, you should definitely be running Serum Visions. No, it's not the best card ever, but, you know, we need card draw, we need scrying. It does it, and it's only 1 mana. Or you could quicken Serum Visions. Sometimes you gotta do it, guys. Sometimes you just need to do it. And then 3 Supreme Verdicts, and this is, my number 3, like I said, it's that sweet spot for me. I really like the number 3. And some people disagree, and some people will personally want to run 4 in the main board. I think sometimes there's too much removal in this, and I think it depends on your meta. If you're going into a meta that's very, very aggressive, if you're playing a meta that's very, you know, you need to kill everyone's creatures or else you're gonna die kind of thing, yeah, okay, maybe 4 Supreme Verdicts. I'm only doing 3 just because I think, in my opinion, if you're going to a larger tournament, I would probably want to cut that number back because you have no idea what you're gonna see. Like, I feel like I want to keep quoting this line from Pawn Stars, you never know what's going to walk through that door. Like, straight up, you never know what you're going to see. So you're like, I'm going to see no, you know, aggressive I'm going to see, like, all these aggressive strategies, and then you run into, like, a million control strategies where Supreme Verdict is pretty useless. Not that it's useless because it can't be countered, which is really good, but they don't run a lot of creatures a lot of times, so you're probably going to want to cut back on the Supreme Verdicts. 4 is kind of a lot in that matchup. And you can always just snap them back later, like, really, realistically. So, yeah, that's just my personal reasons for running them, but you know, everyone's got their whole jam, their whole thing. Sorry, I'm just making sure we're recording. I'm scared one day it's just gonna like stop recording. Okay, cool. 6 creatures. So I talked a little bit earlier about Ojutai's Command, and I'm running 4 Snapcaster Mages, of course, hands down. Really, this is like a card, like if you're someone who loves control strategies and you're like debating on what to splurge on, like Snapcaster Mages are the thing, honey. Like, you need your Snapcaster Mages. I feel like it's one of those cards that like some people are like, oh, it's okay, and then you play with it and you're like, I need like a million copies of this card because it's fantastic. Yeah, Snapcaster Mage is really good. I just have a personal thing. I love Snapcaster Mage. Okay, and then 2 Wall of Omens. And guys, do not underestimate this card, please. People overlook it and think it's a 0/4 defender that draws you a card. Guys, it's really, really good. back in the days when I played Blue-White Control, I ran like 3 or 4 Wall of Omens, and it was just amazing. I also really like it in the strategy because you don't have as many board wipes. When I was playing that strategy, that blue-white one, I was running 5 board wipes in the main board, which is a lot. I was running 4 Supreme Verdicts and a Wrath of God. Plus I had like another Wrath in the sideboard, guys. It was like really fantastic. It was really sweet. But yeah, Wall of Omens, it's really good. Like I said, a really good card against like Affinity, a really good against decks that are really aggressive towards you, that you're just like, eh. Like, it saves that removal spell in your hand that you need that removal spell for something threatening. They have something and then you're like, I don't really want to deal with it, but in a couple turns it's gonna kill me kind of thing, you know, those awkward situations. Wall of Omens will just deflect it because it's like a 0/4 and it's stayed chillin'. And you also do the thing with Ojai's Command where like you return it to the battlefield and then it's a 0/4, which is great because Ojai's Command is an instant. So what's really fantastic about that is like then, you know, your opponent swings, right? This is the juice, guys, with Ojai's Command, okay, right? Your opponent swings. You're like, Ojai's Command. Choosing modes, return target creature, and then you target Wall of Omens with it. And then you draw a card. So they've swung with their thing, you block their Wall of Omens, you draw a card with Ojai's Command, and then you draw a card with Wall of Omens. So in that exchange, you paid 4 mana to get a dude and to draw 2 cards. That's really good. Or you Ojai's Command Snapcaster Mage and then you get something else back. Oh yeah, that's really good, guys. Ojai's Command is a really, really underrated card, okay? Let me tell you. Okay, sweet. I'm writing this main deck on a really positive note because Elspeth Sun's champion. I mean, honestly, like, guys, would this even be a deck tech where I didn't talk about Elspeth Sun's champion? Like, let's be honest here for a minute. I mean, really, yeah. I mean, one of the game finishers. I like this deck because, again, it's definitely control-y, but your mid-range is just, like, your late game is just stupid. Your late game is Sphinx's Wrath, Elspeth, and Celestial Colonnade, or you just kill them to death with Snapcaster Mage, which honestly, sometimes that just happens, and then you snap, like, Electrolyze, or snap Bolt them, or snap Helix them, like, you know, whatever. You just, your end game is, like, really good. I just have to say I'm really proud of this deck, and I think it's just really sweet. So, yeah, Elspeth, she's juice. She's a board wipe if you need her to be. So technically when I say I'm running like, 3 Sphinx's, Supreme Verdicts, in the main, I'm technically kind of running like 5 board wipes because Elspeth's kind of like a board wipe. Doesn't kill everything, but really good against like real big dumb decks where they have a lot of things, or she just makes dudes and blocks, and you just straight up kill your opponent. Like, you know, you wipe the board and then you uptick Elspeth a couple times, and then those, you know, 1/1s become 3/3s with flying, and then it's probably just game over for your opponent. So yeah, guys, that was it for the main board. Do we have time for the sideboard? Yeah, we have time for the sideboard. Cool. I don't like to dwell that much on sideboard. As I've said a million times, I sound like a broken record. Sideboard's dependent on the meta, should look different all the time. Censor, you know, I was looking through cards, kind of forgot about this card, and I don't think it's like the best Magic card in the world, but I do think it's good, and it's potentially an endgame. You know, you just swing with a 2/1. It's got flying, so it's got evasion, which is like really good. You can't use this with Ojai's Command. With mana cost 2 or less. Yeah, you can't use that with Ojai's Command. Kind of a sad day. But it's still a really good card. I mean, stopping your opponent from like tutoring, you know, they're playing like Gifts on Given or like some Gifts on Given, that's like really funny. I should build some deck tech where I run Gifts on Given, just saying. Yeah, okay. 2 Celestial Purges. I love this card. I run this card in basically all of my white sideboards. Hoses Jund, let me tell you something, really, really kills Jund, and I really like it. Card that you probably haven't heard in a really long time, Counterflux. Ooh. You know, I was running blue and I was running red, and you know what I think I'm actually going to do? This card kind of inspired me to do a video talking about counter wars in Modern. I think I want to do like a kind of advice video talking about like how to win counter wars and when to avoid counter wars and stuff like that. I have to figure out what to say because I actually don't know what I'm going to talk about in that video, but you know, I want to mention this card because it's a really good card to like end counter wars. Also a really good card against Storm. If a lot of people are playing Storm in your meta, this is really fantastic. Also really good against elves. If a lot of people are playing elves in your meta, you can just counterflux them when they like tap all their stuff and they like do all the things and you're like lit, counter everything. Yeah, it's really good. Any decks that kind of go big, go hard quickly. Zoo decks are another really good example of that. I know I'm not talking about super popular decks, but again, they could be popular in your meta, honestly. I really love this card. I really, really like Counterflux. I think it's a very underrated card in my opinion. I really like it. A 1/2 of Dispel. I'm kind of known for this card. I'm just kind of one for tossing it in the sideboard. I think it's just a good way to win counter wars. Like I said, I think it's just a good little touch just to boop. Like, it's a little boop card. I don't know. I feel like that's a good way of putting it. It's just like by instant, you know what I mean? I think it's good in a lot of different matchups, which is why I really like it. Yeah, I don't know. I just think this card's really sweet. Another card that you probably haven't heard of in a really long time is its Staticaster. Alright, guys, I really like this card. Any sort of, like, this card just straight up hoses Lingering Souls tokens. I'm just gonna say that. Also, it's just like a 0/3, and it's got Flash, so, and haste, so literally you can do that instant speed, or sometimes you just need a blocker and you just boom, is it Staticaster, if it's not good. Like, it's even if it's bad because you can't use the ability, it's still good because it's a 0/3 blocker. Like, really. Unless they just have all straight up flying, which they probably, like, not a good likelihood. Also really good in, like, a mirror match when they're winning Elspeth Sun's champion. Just saying. Okay, you know, I talked a little bit earlier about, you know, land disruption and how I don't really have that much in the deck, but I threw in 2 Molten Rains in the sideboard. It's a fun burn card, but you know what? This is like control burn, really. So, I don't know. I just think this is really cool. And, you know, this is kind of like I did a Jeskai burn deck a little bit ago, but it's like different from this. I think I ran this card in the sideboard too. Just a really aggressive thing. It is opponent, so they take that damage, but I don't know. I just think this card is really good. It's really good against, deck set of cool-ins that you need to destroy, mainly like Tron. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, okay, almost done, guys. 2 of Negate, pretty basic. Again, I run this in most sideboards with Dispel. They're kind of like buddies in my head. I kind of like, when I run a Dispel, I run a Negate. You could do like 1 of Negate, 1 of Essence Scatter if you need, but I think I really like for the sideboard stuff that isn't creature removal as often, because you have a lot of creature removal in your main board, or player removal. Like I said, something like Bolt can be done to their face. So I like to keep the sideboard more for like stuff that you can't really get rid of because it's not a creature kind of thing. So I think that's why Negate is really good. And then we have 2 Relic of Progenitus. Again, I'm known for running this card. I just really like this card. I also realized I didn't run a Pithing Needle in the sideboard, which if you know me, I know I love that card. I don't know why I didn't run that in the sideboard. That's probably one I should add, because I love that card. I really like it. I also really like that it is from all graveyards. Just keep that in mind. Or you can just keep tapping it. You know what I mean? If your opponent's only got like 3 cards in their graveyard, you can just keep tapping Relic of Progenitus. Honestly, it's only 1 mana too. Sometimes you do have to exile your entire graveyard, but your graveyard's not massively important other than like Snapcaster Mage and Ojutai's Command. It's not that important. And another one of a Supreme Verdict. Like I said, if you're running 4 in the main board, you have an open slot in your sideboard to run something else. And then last but not least, Wrath of God, just because sometimes you need things that can't be regenerated. Sometimes your opponent literally runs Thrun and you have no other answer but Wrath of God. I've been in that situation before and it sucks. Yeah guys, that was it. Also, I did want to say, and I meant to mention this earlier, that this deck was actually voted on by my Twitter people. So follow me on Twitter if you want to know what upcoming deck techs I'm going to do. Because I have a couple of options and I do like a poll to see like what people want to see for my next deck tech. So that I have like enough time to like plan the deck. I have a couple of decks already built, but you know, I like to give myself heads up so I know what deck I should build. So, and like I said, I didn't, you know, I was going to do this deck anyway, but like I wanted to see what deck people wanted to see currently. So if you want to like participate in that, definitely follow me on Twitter so that you can do that. Hashtag shameless self-promo. So that's it guys. That's it for this Jeskai control deck. Kind of burn sweetness deck. This deck's really sweet. So talk to you guys later.